And hopefully we're able to see these hands at showdown and then draw some conclusions. So it looks like Veni Vidi is at the very lowest end of his distribution. I think the fact that he has the ace of diamonds is quite worthless in this situation, just because K Jr. will have such big straight draws and also flop a flush very decently often that he's just going to call every single time. So he just has to think about how is he matching up against his opponent. Maybe he thought about check folding. Not sure, but the money goes in, very little equity required. And of course, the question we should ask ourselves is, what do we think about K Jr.'s 3-bet here with a king 9-8-7-4 double suited? So let's check this out and see. He obviously had 3 clubs, king 9-8-7-4. And he's holding like a double suited hand with an additional suit there on top. And it looks like this hand is not doing that hot. We can see the best rank is 22%, worst rank is 33%, depending on exactly the suit distribution here. Versus a random hand, we are at 33 percentile in a 6-max setting, where playability gets, I think, accounted more, or multi-way, the chances to win the hand multi-way gets accounted more for. So I don't think this hand is going to do that hot. Let's see how it's going to match up against pocket aces pre-flop, because I think we can assume that the cold 4-better here is going to have pocket aces a very high percentage of the time. So 5-card Omaha High, the first player here, K Jr., shows up with this hand, and our opponent probably has aces, and we're going to see how he's going to run against the top 3% or 4-5% pre-flop. And we can see he has 42%. I don't even think we need to see a graph here of the equity distribution to already understand that this is always going to be a call pre-flop, and that there's no way we can justify folding ever. You can see the equities here are 57% still for pocket aces. If we compare that with a hand like the ace 9-8-7 double suited in high, in 4-card PLO, which is a reasonable comparison, I think, to make. And then we can see that we are definitely in worse shape without that 5th card. There's just a higher chance we're going to outdraw holding 5 cards. So 42.5 versus 39.5. Both hands are obviously a call to a 4-bet in 4-card PLO, the ace 9-8-7, and then 5-card PLO, the ace 9-8-7-4 double suited. And then on the flop, I mean, the money goes in with ace 4 deuce. Seems to be quite interesting. We can do rough calculations right over here. So the board is the 10 of diamonds, 9 of diamonds, and 5 of diamonds. And we are holding here in the hero's shoes the ace of diamonds, ace of hearts, the 4 of spades, 4 of hearts, and the deuce of clubs. And when we look at the SPR on the flop, let me just double check. So I'm going to do the math here for a second. There's 3,600 in the middle, a little bit more. So the SPR here is going to be 0.25. Yeah, it's a very low SPR. I mean, we could run this into Poker Juice. It's a quarter pot, basically. So without fold equity, he would be getting 4-1. There's probably no fold equity. So he is going to require to have 20% equity. Does he have 20% equity though? It's a really good question, and also the reason why he probably was tanking. So let's say K Jr. is 3-betting here and calling the 4-bet with every single hand. Let's say he's 3-betting 8%. Could be reasonable, specifically when you look at the hand he was 3-betting with, which apparently is ranked pretty low in 5-card PLO, the ace 9-8-7-4 double suited with 3 clubs. Then we look at the equity here on the flop, and we can still see that against that 8% range, he's going to have still 32% equity with ace, ace, 4, 4 deuce, with absolutely no connection to the board. So that is definitely interesting. And it already showcases like this is not a game where a lot of folding is probably going to take place. So anyway, the money goes in, and we are going to recap. Well, did we see the result of this hand? I'm not sure. So K Jr. with a wrap here. It takes down the first one, and I think they're going to split up the second one. Okay, let's recap a hand here at the bottom and see how that one played out between, all right, those two guys. I don't want to spoil the results already. So you can see a lot of short stacks here. The Hobo King sitting on 30 big blinds. and it's going to be a hand between him and EEE. And I hope you guys can see how you can utilize Odds Oracle yourself. You can also do a lot of these calculations for free on ProPokerTools.com and learn more about the equity you have post-flop when stacking off, pre-flop. The ranking option, the Range Explorer, is not for free on the website. You have to actually buy a license of Odds Oracle. But now is really the time to put in the footwork again, or the legwork, to put in the work into 5-card PLO before everyone else is catching up. So it looks like in this hand we have the button open limping, which is surprising to me just because as the equities run so close, it seems like you can call a lot of 3-bets, maybe all the 3-bets, and by raising he has a fair shot at stealing the blinds. And the big blind comes in with the raise and checks the flop. The board is obviously quite static and seems to be quite standard to check here, maybe full range with the ISO range. I think one of the interesting questions to answer and explore is how much stronger is a rundown in 5-card PLO versus 4-card PLO. This was obviously not the stack off hand. We probably missed it there, or yeah, it's actually right here. Okay, let's recap this one. But we're gonna look into the rankings of some rundowns just in a moment. So here it looks like the Hobo King limp called pre-flop. I mean, domination must really play a big role because with 5 cards, you're gonna flop 2 pairs and straight draws and weak flush draws so often while your opponent also has a good hand. So I would be careful playing too many hands pre-flop that are dominated. I talked to someone that put in a decent amount of research into 5-card PLO a while ago, and he basically said, and he's playing a lot of 5-card PLO, he basically said that high cards are even more important in 5-card PLO in comparison to 4-card PLO. All right, so the Hobo King with the check raise and EEE with the jam, and we are looking at a wrap with the backdoor flush draw, the ace, queen jack 10, and another ace, queen 10-9. Okay, so there's a wrap on Hobo's part with a pair, and then a wrap without a pair on EEE's shoes. Seems to be a strong hand. The double suited ace, queen 10-9-8 with exactly 4 suits. Maybe that's the way to call it, which means we don't have a triple suit involved. Probably a pretty strong holding. It's obviously not a pair, and there are a lot of very strong pairs in 5-card PLO. Imagine it is much more likely you have double suited aces or kings in 5-card PLO in comparison to 4-card PLO. So let's do some quick research over here. And first of all, figure out how strong is EE's hand pre-flop, the ace, queen, 10-9-8. Double suited. So here we have 2 suits and diamond, for example. And yeah, we can see 6-handed is between 4 and 8. In this case, EE has 2 high suits. So probably like top 4%. Definitely a strong hand that he shows up with. And the Hobo King's hand looks decent for a 4-card PLO, right? It's the ace, queen jack 10-7, specifically if you forget about the 7, but because it is so likely to have a double suited hand, holding the trip suits here I think really drags down the value of this hand, and you might have a false impression, or we might have a false impression in general when we think about a hand like that in 5-card. 17 to 27, we do have the nut suit though, so it's probably going to be like 17 to 20% range when we think about this hand. Makes definitely sense to limp call here out of position, and on the flop with a pair and a wrap, seems, I guess, fine to just get it in. So the money goes in, and catching 2 pair for the Hobo King. And let me just double check, how was that a split? Okay. Yeah, so first one goes to Hobo. Oh, backdoor hearts, there we go. Makes sense. They split it up. So we are observing right now 5 tables. I have not pre-selected the hands because they play very shallow and it's 5-card PLO, so there's a lot of action involved. And I think we can expect enough footage to be covered here, even without me picking up the highlights. Looks like the money might go in here again. A double flush board is out there. EEE. We're going to recap the pre-flop action in case the money goes in here and we see a showdown. Can definitely have a lot of huge hands, but apparently he doesn't. And I'm just wondering, you know, I really want to know how likely is it you get the double suited aces in 5-card PLO. So the answer here is going to be around 2% in 5-card PLO and 0.3% in 4-card PLO. So what is that, like almost 5 to 6 times more likely? Yeah, 5 to 6 times more likely to get double suited aces, 5 to 6 times more likely to get double suited kings, and so on. And then the spectrum of double suited aces is like even wider in 5-card, right? There are connected ones and non-connected ones and triple suits and no triple suited hands. So that is definitely very, very interesting. We already saw on this hand. But one thing that definitely is apparent to me is that protection becomes more important. So I would definitely assume that leading is quite important into the pre-flop raiser, even from the big blind and heads-up situations, but specifically also post-flop. And when you think about the equity of your hand, what probably matters a ton is the nuttiness behind that equity. So like a combo draw is quite easy to flop in 5-card, but flopping the right combo draw, the one that dominates our opponent, is much more difficult, specifically when the pre-flop ranges are wide. The flop money goes in here with top set and the gutter against the open-ended straight draw and the nut flush draw. Let's just recap quickly pre-flop what happened there. So we see a raise and a cold call. Okay, so this was an under the gun raise. The ace, king, 10, 10, 8 trip suited. I doubt it. And then ace, jack, jack, 8, 4 double suited makes more sense to me. Let's figure it out. And again, looking at the ranking is not the ultimate answer, but it is a really good starting point. Ace, king, 10, 10, 8 with trip suits, and one of the suits was an ace high suit. So that hand, if I would have to estimate, I would say like that rank is probably between 15 and 20%, even worse maybe. So 1 second, so it was like this. Okay, yeah, 17 to 20%, pretty much nailed it there. Might be a marginal under the gun open. We do have some nuttiness, ace, king, 10, 10, 8, but certainly at the bottom of like the under the gun open raising range, most likely. And then the cold call there, we already know from No Limit Hold'em, but also of course 4-card PLO that the cold calling range in MP should be tight. Is ace, ace, jack,